I'll never forget the sound, the sharp, piercing crack of glass hitting the floor. It wasn't just a wine glass that shattered that night. It was my life. My name is Daniel Carver, and I was a man who thought he had it all. A beautiful wife, Elise, a cozy home in the suburbs, a steady job as an architect. That night, though, March 11th, 2024, exactly 1 year ago, I came home early from a late meeting, my tie loosened, my shoulders heavy with exhaustion. I wanted nothing more than to collapse beside her, to feel the warmth of her smile. But the house was too quiet, too still. Elise, I called, my voice echoing off the hardwood floors. No answer. The kitchen light flickered, strange. I'd fixed it last week, and there, on the counter, sat 2 wine glasses. One was half full, the deep red liquid catching the dim glow. The other? Smashed. Shards glinted like tiny, accusing eyes staring up at me. My stomach twisted. She'd been here. With someone. I could feel it, like a cold hand gripping my chest. I moved silently through the house, my footsteps deliberate, my pulse pounding in my ears. Her coat was gone. Her shoes, those red heels I'd bought her for our 5th anniversary, missing. Then I saw it, a note, scribbled in her elegant, looping handwriting, pinned under a magnet on the fridge. Daniel, I'm sorry. I'll explain later. Explain what? My mind raced. Accident? Emergency? But no, something deeper gnawed at me, something I couldn't name yet. I grabbed my keys, my coat, and stormed out into the night. The air was crisp, biting, the stars mocking me with their indifference. I drove to her sister's place first, nothing. Her best friend's apartment, empty. Then, on a hunch, I turned toward the old diner downtown, the one she loved for its greasy fries and late-night coffee. And there she was. Through the fogged-up window, I saw her, Elise, her golden hair spilling over her shoulders, laughing, with a man I'd never seen before. He was broad-shouldered, rough around the edges, with a crooked smile that made my blood boil. His hand rested on hers. Hers rested on a stack of cash he'd slid across the table. That was the moment I knew. My wife, my Elise, wasn't just slipping away. She was already gone. I stood there, frozen, my breath fogging the diner window as I watched them. Elise, my Elise, tilted her head back, laughing at something he said. The stranger. His hand lingered on hers, casual, possessive, like he'd done it 100 times before. The cash, crisp, green bills sat between them like a silent confession. My fists clenched so hard my nails dug into my palms. Who was he? Why was he giving her money? And why did she look so alive with him, when with me she'd been a ghost for months? I wanted to storm in, to flip the table, to demand answers. But my feet wouldn't move. Instead, I watched, like some pathetic bystander in my own life, as he leaned closer, whispering something that made her eyes soften. That look. I hadn't seen it in years, not since the early days, when we'd dance in the kitchen to scratchy old records. Now it was his. The diner door swung open, and a waitress stepped out for a smoke break. The sound snapped me back. I ducked behind a parked car, my heart hammering. They didn't see me. Good. I needed time to think, to plan. I pulled out my phone, hands trembling, and snapped a blurry photo through the window. Evidence. Proof. Something to hold on to when the rage finally boiled over. I drove home in a daze, the image of them burned into my skull. The house felt colder now, emptier. I poured a whiskey, neat, no ice, and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the broken glass still scattered on the floor. Then I saw it, a receipt, crumpled near the trash can. I snatched it up. Ben's Auto Repair, it read. $500. Paid in cash. Dated 2 days ago. We didn't have a car in the shop. We didn't even go to Ben's too far out of town. My mind spun. Was this his? Was he Ben? Or was this just another lie in a web I hadn't yet unraveled? The phone rang, shrill and sudden. I jolted, spilling whiskey across the table. It was her. Elise. I let it ring once, twice, before answering. Daniel. Her voice was shaky, rehearsed. I'm staying at my sister's tonight. I just needed space. Space. Right. I gritted my teeth, forcing calm into my voice. Sure, Elise. Take all the space you need. I hung up before she could say more. She didn't know I knew. Not yet. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat there, whiskey in hand, the receipt in the other, plotting. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. The next morning, I woke up, or rather, I sat up from the chair I'd slumped in all night. My head throbbed, my mouth tasted like ash, and that receipt, Ben's Auto Repair, stared at me from the table like a taunting riddle. I didn't call Elise. Let her think I was still the fool, oblivious and waiting. No. Today, I'd find answers. I drove out to Bins, 40 minutes across town, past rusted barns and sagging power lines. The shop was a squat, grimy building, its sign peeling, the beat half faded. I parked across the street, watching. Mechanics shuffled in and out, grease-stained and loud. Then I saw him, the stranger from the diner. Same broad shoulders, same crooked smile. He leaned against a truck, wiping his hands on a rag, joking with another guy. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. So this was his turf. I didn't go in. Not yet. Instead, I waited until he climbed into a beat-up Chevy and peeled out. I followed, careful, keeping distance, through winding back roads until he stopped at a rundown house, paint chipped, lawn overgrown. He went inside. I parked a block away, my pulse racing. What was he to her? A fling? A savior? The cash flashed in my mind. Had she been desperate? Had I failed her somehow? No. I shoved that thought down. This was her choice. I crept closer, sticking to the shadows of overgrown bushes. Through a cracked window, I saw him toss his keys on a table, then pull out a phone. He laughed, loud, carefree, and said something I couldn't catch. Then her voice. Elise's. Soft, familiar, drifting from the speakerphone. You're sure he doesn't suspect? She asked. My stomach dropped. Nah, he replied, grinning. Daniel's too busy designing his little houses to notice. Too busy. Too blind. Rage clawed at me, hot and sharp. I stumbled back to my car, breathless. They were mocking me, planning, plotting, right under my nose. But then, a twist, a second car pulled up. A woman stepped out, tall, sharp-eyed, maybe 40. She marched to the door, banged on it, and yelled, Travis. Get out here. Travis. His name. The stranger had a name. He opened the door, annoyed, and they argued. Something about money, debts, promises. She slapped him, hard, and stormed off. I sank lower in my seat, mind reeling. Who was she? Another piece of this mess? I drove home, the pieces jumbling in my head. Elise. Travis. The cash. This angry woman. I didn't have it all yet, but I would. And when I did, they'd pay. Oh, they'd pay. The drive back from Travis's house felt endless, miles of gray road stretching out like the unraveling threads of my life. My hand shook on the wheel, not from fear, but from something darker, something colder. Elise's voice echoed in my skull. You're sure he doesn't suspect? And Travis's smug reply twisted the knife deeper. Too busy. Too blind. They thought I was a joke. A shadow in my own marriage. But I wasn't blind anymore. I saw everything now too much, maybe, and it fueled me. Back home, I didn't bother cleaning the whiskey-soaked table or the shattered glass. Chaos suited me now. I sat in the dark, the receipt from Ben's auto repair in one hand, my phone in the other. That blurry diner photo glared back at me, Travis's hand on hers, the cash, her smile. I needed more. I needed proof, not just of the affair, but of what they were doing. The money. The lies. That woman who'd stormed up to his door, who was she? A scorned lover? A creditor? Another pawn in their game? I opened my laptop, fingers flying across the keys. First, Travis. No last name yet, but Ben's Auto Repair gave me a start. Their website was basic, hours, services, a grainy photo of the team. There he was, second from the left, arms crossed, smirking. Travis H., lead mechanic. H., a crumb, but I'd take it. I scoured social media next, X, Facebook, anything. A Travis Harmon popped up, tagged in a post from Ben's. Great work fixing my truck, Trav. Same crooked smile. Same broad shoulders. It was him. His profile was sparse, locked down, private, but I dug deeper. A few public photos, him with a beer, him under a car, him with that woman from earlier. She was tagged, Lydia Harmon. Sister? Wife? Ex? Her page was open, a goldmine of rants, money troubles, deadbeat family, cryptic jabs at T. Travis, no doubt. One post, dated last month. Some people think they can just take what's mine and run. Not this time. My gut twisted. Was Elise tangled in some family mess? Or was this about the cash, her cash, my cash, our cash? I switched gears. Elise. Her bank account. I had the login, though I'd never checked it. Why would I? I trusted her. Past tense. I typed the password, our anniversary, how quaint, and there it was. Withdrawals. Hundreds, then thousands, over months. $500 here, $800 there, all cash, no notes. The last one, $2,000, 2 days ago. The day of the receipt. My vision blurred. Rage, betrayal, a sick kind of clarity. She'd been bleeding us dry. For him. For Travis. I leaned back, breathing hard. The house creaked around me, mocking my solitude. Then a noise. A car door outside. I bolted to the window, peering through the blinds. Elise's sedan pulled into the driveway. She stepped out, alone, her face pale under the streetlight. She carried a bag, overnight, small, and moved slow, like she dreaded coming inside. Good. She should. I didn't open the door. Let her knock. She did, soft, hesitant. Daniel. Her voice was small, fragile. An act. I swung the door open, staring her down. Her eyes widened. Guilt? Fear. But she recovered fast. I told you I'd explain, she stammered, stepping in. Can we talk? Talk. Sure. I nodded, cold as stone, and gestured to the couch. She sat, clutching her bag like a shield. I've been struggling, she began, eyes on the floor. Money. Bills. You've been so busy, and I didn't want to burden you. Burden me. Right. So I borrowed some cash. From a friend. A friend. I almost laughed, bitter, sharp, but held it in. Travis? I said, voice flat. Her head snapped up, color draining from her face. How do you know that name? I saw you, I said, stepping closer. Last night. The diner. The money. Him. Her mouth opened, closed, like a fish gasping for air. Daniel, it's not what you think. Stop. I cut her off, my voice a blade. Don't lie. Not now. She shrank back, tears welling. He helped me, she whispered. When I couldn't ask you. And it just happened. The word hung there, heavy, suffocating. I turned away, fist clenched. How long? Silence. Then, 6 months. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of her slipping into his bed, or his truck, or wherever they hid their filth. I faced her again, my voice low, dangerous. And the money? Our money. She flinched. I was going to pay it back. He needed it for what? I snapped. She hesitated, then, his sister. Lydia. She's sick. Cancer. He couldn't afford the bills. Lydia. The woman at his door. Cancer. A sob story convenient. Perfect. I didn't buy it. So you gave him our savings for his sister? I sneered. Or for him to keep you sweet? Her tears fell now, fast, messy. No, Daniel, I swear enough, I said, turning away again. Get out. She froze. What? You heard me, I growled. Go back to him. Or your sister. I don't care. Just go. She stood, trembling, and grabbed her bag. You're wrong about this, she choked out. You'll see. She left, the door slamming behind her. Wrong. Maybe. But I didn't care about right or wrong anymore. I cared about punishment. I sat back down, the laptop still open. Travis Harmon. Lydia Harmon. Elise Carver. 3 names, 1 target. I pulled out a notebook, old, dusty, from my college days, and started writing. Plans. Steps. Revenge wasn't a feeling now. It was a blueprint. First, confirm Lydia's story. If it was true, fine. If it was a lie, better. I'd use it. Second, hit Travis where it hurt. His shop? His truck? His pride? Third, Elise. She'd feel it most. Not violence, no, too crude. Something sharper. Something that had cut deeper than any blade. The phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered, silent. Daniel Carver? A woman's voice, rough, edged. Who's this? I demanded. Lydia, she said. We need to talk about my brother. And your wife. My heart stopped, then raced. Where? I asked. The diner, she said. 1 hour. Click. I stared at the phone, mind spinning. Lydia. Another twist. Another chance. I grabbed my keys and left. The game was shifting, and I'd be ready. The diner's neon sign buzzed overhead as I pulled into the lot, its flickering red glow painting the night in jagged streaks. My hands gripped the steering wheel too tight, knuckles white, veins bulging as I replayed Lydia's voice in my head. We need to talk about my brother. And your wife. What did she know? What did she want? I stepped out, the cold March air biting my face, and scanned the windows. There she was, tall, sharp-eyed, sitting alone in a corner booth, her fingers drumming on a chipped coffee mug. I walked in, the bell above the door jangling like a warning. The place smelled of burnt grease and stale pie, familiar, sickening. She didn't look up until I slid into the seat across from her. Up close, Lydia Harmon was all edges. Hollow cheeks, tight lips, a scar slicing her left eyebrow. Her eyes, dark, piercing, locked onto mine. "You're Daniel," she said, not a question. I nodded, jaw clenched. "And you're Lydia. Talk." She smirked, bitter, fleeting, then leaned forward, voice low. "Travis is a fool. Always has been. But your wife? She's worse." My stomach lurched. "What do you mean?" I asked, forcing calm. She sipped her coffee, slow, deliberate, then set it down hard. "She's not just sleeping with him. She's using him. And he's too dumb to see it. Using him." The words hit like a punch, sharp, disorienting. "For what?" I demanded. "Money? Love?" Lydia laughed, a dry, rasping sound. "Money, sure. But not how you think. Travis told me she's been feeding him cash. Your cash? I'm guessing to help me. Cancer, right? That's the story she sold him." I froze. Elise's tears, her plea, he needed it for his sister, flashed in my mind. "You don't have cancer?" I asked, voice tight. She shook her head, eyes narrowing. "Never did. I'm broke, not dying." She made it up. My head spun. Elise, lying to Travis too? Why? I leaned back, hands flat on the table, grounding myself. "So what's her game?" Lydia shrugged, but her gaze was steel. "Dunno. Maybe she's running from you. Maybe she's got debts you don't know about. All I know is she's got my brother wrapped around her finger, and he's draining me to keep her happy. Draining her." Another twist. "The money he gave her last night," I said. "Where'd it come from?" "Me," Lydia spat. "I owed a guy, bad guy, loan shark type. Travis took my last 500 to pay him off, then turned around and handed it to your wife. Said she needed it more." Her voice cracked, anger, betrayal. "He's picking her over me, his own blood." I stared at her, pieces clicking, shifting. Elise wasn't just a cheat. She was a manipulator, playing us all. But for what? Why tell me this? I asked, suspicious. She leaned closer, her breath sour with coffee. "Because I want him out of her claws. And you look like a man who'd burn it all down to get even. Burn it all down." She wasn't wrong. My mind raced, images of Elise laughing with Travis, of her tears at home, lies piling on lies. "What do you want from me?" I said, voice low. "Help," she replied. "We take them down. Together." I didn't answer right away. Could I trust her? This woman, scarred, bitter, tied to the man who'd stolen my wife? But her hate mirrored mine, raw, real. "What's your plan?" I asked finally. She grinned sharp, feral. "Travis keeps a ledger. Jobs, cash, debts, all off the books. It's in his truck, under the seat. Get it? And we've got proof he's screwing over the shop and me. Then we turn it on her. Proof. Leverage." I liked it, cold, precise. "And Elise?" I pressed. Lydia's grin faded. "She's your problem. You figure her out." I nodded, slow, deliberate. "Fine. I'll get the ledger. Tomorrow." She slid a key across the table, small, rusted. "Spare to his truck. He's at the shop till midnight. Be quick." I pocketed it, the metal cold against my fingers. "Why trust me with this?" I asked. Her eyes darkened. "Because you've got nothing left to lose." I can see it. She was right. I stood, leaving a crumpled tin for the coffee I hadn't touched. "One more thing," I said, pausing. "If you're lying, if this is some game, I'll bury you too." She didn't flinch. "Fair," she said. I left, the bell jangling behind me, her words, "She's using him," looping in my head. Back in the car, I didn't go home. I drove to Ben's auto repair, parking a block away. Midnight was hours off, but I needed to feel the weight of what I was about to do. The shop loomed dark, quiet, a hulking shadow against the sky. Travis's Chevy sat out front, alone. I gripped the key in my pocket, my plan hardening. Get the ledger. Expose him. Then Elise, oh Elise. She'd feel the cold edge of my revenge soon enough. But then a headlights. A car pulled up, sleek, black, expensive. Not Travis's style. A man stepped out, tall, thin, suited, a predator's gait. He knocked on the shop door. Travis opened it, tense, no smirk now. They argued, short, sharp, then the man handed over an envelope. Travis took it, reluctant, and the man drove off. I ducked lower, heart pounding. Who was that? Another player? Another lie? I waited until Travis went back inside, then started the engine. The ledger could wait, midnight, like Lydia said. But this was new. I tailed the black car, careful, staying back. It led me downtown to a high-rise glass, steel, money. The man went in. I parked, watching. A sign by the entrance, Marwood Financial. Financial. Debts. Was this Elise's endgame, some scheme tied to this place? My blood ran cold. She wasn't just cheating. She was building something big, something I'd tear apart. I drove home, mind buzzing. Lydia's deal. Travis's ledger. This mystery man. Elise at the center, pulling strings. I'd get the ledger tomorrow, step 1. But step 2? Step 3? They'd be crueler. Colder. She'd build a web. I'd burn it down, strand by strand, until she had nothing left. Midnight came fast, too fast. I parked near Ben's Auto Repair again, the key Lydia gave me biting into my palm. The shop was dark, save for a faint glow in the back. Travis was still inside good. I moved quick, silent, sticking to shadows. His Chevy sat unguarded, a rust bucket thrown for a fool. I slipped the key in, popped the door, and ducked inside. Under the seat, there it was, a leather notebook, worn, stained. The ledger. I flipped it open under my phone's dim light. Pages of scribbles, dates, names, amounts. Cash jobs, unreported. Hundreds here, thousands there. Then her name. Elise C., $500, $2,000, $800, over months. My chest tightened. But next to each? M.F. Marwood Financial. The black car. The suit. It wasn't just Travis's dirty money, it was hers, funneled through him. What was she buying? Freedom? Power? A noise, footsteps. I shoved the ledger in my jacket, eased the door shut, and crouched behind the truck. Travis stumbled out, muttering, a beer in hand. He didn't see me. He climbed in, engine roaring, and peeled off. I waited, breath held, then bolted to my car. The ledger burned against my ribs, a weapon now. But that MF, it gnawed at me. I needed more. Back home, I spread it out, cross-checking dates. The withdrawals from our account matched almost perfect. Almost. One entry, $10,000, 3 months ago, didn't. We didn't have that much. Where'd it come from? Marwood? I grabbed my phone, searched Marwood Financial. A slick website, investments, loans, discreet solutions. Discreet. Right. I'd crack it open tomorrow. For now, the ledger was mine, and Travis was next. Morning broke gray, heavy. I called in sick, first time in years, my voice flat, convincing. Then I drove to Ben's, the ledger photocopied, tucked safe. Travis was there, wrench in hand, laughing with a coworker. I walked up, calm, deliberate. Travis Harmon? He turned, smirk fading. Who are you? Daniel Carver, I said, loud enough for the others. Elise's husband. His face paled, beautiful. I know about the money, I continued, stepping closer. The cash jobs. The ledger. His eyes darted, panic, guilt. Dunno what you're talking, save it. I snapped, pulling out a page copy, waving it. This goes to your boss, or the cops, unless you talk. The shop went quiet, eyes on us. He grabbed my arm, dragged me aside. What do you want? He hissed. Her, I said. Everything. Now. He cracked fast, weak, spineless. She came to me 6 months back. Said she needed cash, quick. I gave it, thought she'd pay me back. Then, it got messy. Messy? Sure. And Marwood. I pressed. He blinked, confused. What's that? I studied him clueless, maybe honest. Never mind, I said. You're done with her. Or this. I shook the page, ends you. He nodded, fast, desperate. Done. Swear. I left, his fear lingering like smoke. Step 1, Travis broken. Step 2, Marwood. Elise didn't know yet, but she'd feel it soon. Marwood Financial's glass tower loomed downtown, cold, untouchable. I sat in my car, watching suits shuffle in and out. The ledger's MF entries, $10,000, $5,000, weren't ours. Someone else's money. Hers? I needed inside. I straightened my tie, old, wrinkled, and walked in, playing the part. Reception was sleek, sterile. I'm here about a loan, I lied, smooth. The clerk, young, bored, nodded. Name? Travis Harmon, I said, testing. Her eyes flicked to her screen, then widened. Wait here. Minutes later, the man from the black car appeared, tall, thin, shark-like. Mr. Harmon, he asked, voice silk. I nodded, close enough. He led me to an office, plush, private. You're late, he said, tossing an envelope on the desk. Payments due. I stared, bluffing now. Elise didn't tell me. His eyes narrowed, sharp, dangerous. She said you'd handle it. $50,000. Today. $50,000. My mind reeled. She was in deep, deeper than I'd guessed. I'll get it, I said, stalling. He smirked, cold, knowing. Good. Tell her Mr. Voss doesn't wait. Voss. A name. I left, envelope in hand, unopened, heavy. Outside, I tore it open. A contract. E. Carver signed, bold, for a loan, $100,000. Dated last year. My knees buckled. She'd sold us out, our house, our life for this. Home felt like a tomb now, hers, mine, ours no more. The contract shook in my hands. $100,000, collateral, our house. She'd forged my signature, perfect, cruel. I called her, no answer. I texted, Marwood. Voss. I know. Minutes later, she replied, Daniel, please. Meet me. Explain. Explain. Fine. I said it, diner, tonight. She was there, pale, fragile, fake. I didn't want this, she started, tears ready. Voss, he trapped me. Debts from before us. I tried to fix it with my life. I cut in, voice ice. You sold our house. You used Travis. Me. She sobbed loud, messy. I love you, Daniel. Stop, I said, standing. You're done. I walked out, her cries fading. Next, Voss. I called Lydia, sharp, quick. Voss. Marwood. Know him. She cursed, low, fierce. Loan shark. Travis borrowed from him once, nearly lost the shop. Elise owes him $50,000, I said. Good, she replied. Let him take her. No, I'd use him. That night, I met Voss, alone, his office. Travis can't pay, I said, tossing the contract back. But I can. Her debt for her. His eyes gleamed, amused, intrigued. You'd sell your wife? Ex-wife, I corrected. Take her. Clear it. He laughed, dark, chilling. Deal. March 11th, 2025 today. 1 year since the glass broke. I watched from across the street as Voss's men took her, screaming, clawing from her sister's porch. She'd run there, thinking safety. Wrong. The ledger took Travis, shop seized, him broke. Lydia got her cut, smiling free. Voss got Elise, her debt, her punishment. Me? I got nothing, house gone, life ashes. I didn't feel joy too hollow. Revenge was cold, cruel, complete. I drove off, north, anywhere, radio static my only company. She'd betrayed me. He'd stolen her. I'd burned them both. Fair? No. But done. The road stretched on, empty, endless, like me now.